All right, what's happening, everyone? Welcome back for another episode of the Chamber Podcast. My name is Rob Johnson, and joining me in the studio today is Doug Bering. He is the owner of Little Diablo Salsa. Welcome to the studio, my friend.
Thank you, Rob.
So, I guess the name of the business is pretty self-explanatory, right? You guys produce salsa. I guess what was the driving factor that made you want to go into it, and then we'll dive a little bit more into your background as well.
I couldn't find a good salsa in the store.
Okay.
I mean, for years and years I looked, and they all had chemicals in them. They all had sugars. They had thickeners. A lot of them were just paste-based.
Okay.
And I just had to come up with one that was good.
So how long was this, we'll call it a void of salsa in your life present? Because like at a certain age, right, you go from Tostitos, you're like, I guess that's fine.
Yeah,
and then you start to develop a normal palate.
At least 20 years. I got a culinary background, and, I eat junk that I thought was good until my mid-20s. Then I started realizing there was better food out there.
So did the void that you felt was there in the salsa space encourage you to learn how to make it, or did you go into this process already knowing how to cook and formulate a new type of salsa?
Kind of both. I mean, I kind of know the basics of what foods go together, and but I didn't have a recipe until I started playing around with it, and I wanted it to be. I had this thing about just 5 basic ingredients. And tomatoes, peppers, a little bit of seasoning, some salt, and that's all you need. You don't need sugar in salsa if you have the right blend of peppers and onions and tomatoes.
Okay. What is, I guess if it's that basic in terms of the ingredient list, what's the X factor that makes it different?
I think it's different because there are no preservatives. There's no... just because it is basic. I don't have any special imported huacachado peppers or anything crazy like that. Just a basic, green peppers, onions, tomatoes, and just a couple spices.
Okay. So one of the biggest challenges with products is the distribution channel. Whether it's from, most salsas don't need to be refrigerated on shelves. They don't need to be in a cold section of a supermarket. But distribution is a challenge, largely because there's so many different competitors, whether it's big names or celebrities that are trying to break into the salsa or hot sauce market, or it's just people like yourself that see a problem and want to address it and want to put forth a product. What was it like setting up distribution channels for a product that is so competitive?
Nightmare.
I would imagine
And
so.
it still is.
Yeah.
There's a myth out there that supermarkets make money off of people coming in and buying groceries. They make money off of their vendors. So they charge vendors sliding fees to get on the shelf. You have to buy/rent the shelf space. There's a setup fee and per SKU, and a lot of stores want free product, to get on the shelf. It's called a free fill. It's known throughout the business as a free fill.
And that's on the initial run. Is that more so to prove like the proof of concept for the consumer market for that product?
Are you a buyer? That's how they call it, but I think it's extortion. But yes, every buyer needs, if they're going to take a chance on you, they can't take a loss at it.
Yeah, I'm pretty familiar with the retail wholesale distribution space. So that's why I'm super curious. I've never actually got to sit down and have a conversation with someone on the product side, kind of a long form of like what it's been like. And you guys have been doing this for 10 years now. Yeah. So that's why when we were doing the pre-show, I kept it very short because I wanted to keep all my questions for the interview, because it takes a lot of, I'll just call it what it is. It takes a lot of courage and tenacity to stay in this product space. Most people that enter into a product space are out within 2 years, vast majority, because of the distribution problems, whether it's because of freight or manufacturing or kitchen rentals or something that, something from the prep or manufacturing perspective. And then there's the challenge of the marketing and consumerism that takes place in the supermarkets. So being able to withstand all of that nonsense, and there's way more than just what I just listed, for 10 years is quite the feat.
Well, thank you. It is. At some point early on, you have to decide, is it a business or is it a hobby? And you have to go all in at some point. And we were at that mark after about 3 years.
Okay.
And that's when every growth is, the bigger you get, the harder it gets.
Yeah.
When you're just a little tiny company, Tostitos don't care about you, Frontero don't care about you. But as you start cutting into their market, then they start buying your shelf space back and kind of pushing you out. So it's definitely an uphill battle.
Or replicating your product. This is what happened when the organic trend happened, and a lot of small cap manufacturers were going to market with organic products, and the big brands hadn't embraced that concept yet.
Yes.
So then what happened? The big brands started running all of their products into this organic system and phasing out some of the smaller competitors. So that's what's difficult too, is there's not a monopoly, but there's less than 10 major companies that control market share, and it's hard to grab up space.
Or they kind of rebrand themselves and come up with an alternative brand.
Yeah.
They're premium. They'll call it their small batch.
The black label.
It's the same Tostitos, just in a fancy label.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they have the marketing money to do that.
We made the ink 50% darker for this run.
Right.
Yeah, no, I get it. So I guess what has it been like? Well, I guess let's start here. What stores are you in? And then let's go from like year 1 to year 5 to year 10. What does your distribution numbers look like in terms of number of stores or units that you're producing and selling, things like that?
So year 1, year 2 was pretty much farmers markets, fairs, street fairs. 3 and 4 was kind of that tipping period as, we started getting a few local stores. That was kind of, okay, we can do this. Let's do this. Let's go all in. And now it's a job. Now it's a business. And that was about 4 years into it. And then we started pushing really hard. Today, we're in almost 1,000 stores, 20 states, Kroger's, Meijer's, all the Bushes, a lot of independents, out of state chains like Coburn's, Woodman's, Festivals, Hy-Vee's, bigger chains like that. And that was, I call them baby steps, but it was after year 4, year 5, just putting your head down and moving forward.
Do you find that having more stores under your belt makes it easier to approach newer chains? Because I'm sure they're still going to want some type of short-term proof of concept because it's a new market for them, but you're already established in 1,000 stores. So does it make that process easier, or is it pretty much starting from square one with each new chain?
You would think it'd be easier, but it really isn't. Every chain is independent of other chains, and they're not so much, they don't care about proof of concept. They still want the money and the free fill and all the stuff up front. Mm-hmm. But when you tell people you've been in Meijer's for 6 years, that carries a lot of weight.
Sure.
It's easy to get into Meijer's, but it's hard to stay into Meijer's.
Yeah.
There's a lot of small businesses that their first year they get right into Meijer and they're not ready. They can't keep up with demand, and they get kicked out, or it just doesn't sell. They don't promote it properly. They get discontinued. So to be in Kroger's and Meijer's for 6 years, that's what carries the weight.
One random question that I have, you might not be able to answer it, but I've always been curious from a quality assurance perspective, when you guys have product feedback that comes in from consumers, do you have to show that to the chains that your products are in so they can have transparency among like what people are writing you in? So let's say you had let's say there was like a chip company, right? And there was like a ton of like stale chips. and there was a ton of reports that came in directly to the company. Do you have a system in place that would transparently show like these chips were in Meijer, so now Meijer is aware of this, or how does that work with communicating consumer feedback to those chains?
They don't ask. We have a system in place for the FDA. We have to keep track of all complaints.
Okay.
But they're not only do you have the upfront fees, but a lot of chains want 100% guarantee to where if they buy, let's say 5 pallets and it doesn't sell, it moves slow, a lot of them want you to buy it back, whatever they can't sell within a 6-month or an 8-month period.
Have you found that you have to comply with that, or as you carry more weight in your life cycle of your product starts to get smaller and smaller, you're like, no, there's no guarantee, it's going to sell?
I've not had to buy any product back ever, so that's a good thing. But nobody asks. No stores said, have you ever had to buy product back?
Yeah,
which you would think that would be an obvious question, but
yeah, they probably treat everything like an independent market. So, curious, are you in like at Whole Foods here in Michigan?
We were in Whole Foods until Amazon bought them.
Okay.
Whole Foods started what they call order to shelf. Whole Foods, I used to take them 10, 15 cases per store. And now they don't want any back stock. They don't store anything. They want it to come in, go on the shelf.
I see.
So they would call me Monday for a case of hot, Tuesday for a case of medium, and I'd have to drive it an hour. And so we don't do that anymore.
I would imagine that every single store has different logistics for product distribution. How do you keep track of all of the different, because I'm sure they all have different processes and you have to probably comply with what those are. So how do you keep track of all those different stores and all their different processes?
So some stores have a distributor. Some are direct, like Meijer's I would ship direct. Spartan Nash, they have about 200 stores. So they have the VGs, the Family Fairs, the DW Fresh. I ship right to their warehouse, and then they ship it out to their stores. Meijer's does the same. Kroger's has a distributor, so they'll come pick up the product, and it's an independent distributor, and then they'll deliver it to the stores. So like Kroger doesn't order from me. They order from the distributor. The distributor orders from me, where Meijer would order from me, and Spartans would order from me. So when it comes, the POs come all different ways. Some are fax, some are emailed, some are electronic digital edict system that I don't understand yet. But so you have to manage all that. You have to look at your order website, and you have to look at your fax machine. Can't believe I still have a fax machine. And some of the smaller ones will send me a text.
Okay.
Some will just take a picture of their empty shelf and text it to me. Okay, I'm on my way.
Wow, that seems efficient.
Yeah.
So, I'm curious. So I'm sure when you first came into the marketplace in year one, what was like your initial product? What was kind of the capstone product that you offered to stores?
Hot, medium, and mild.
Okay. So you had
First
three,
three.
so
Yep.
3 SKUs.
Yep.
And how much of those 3 evolved over the last 10 years?
So I have 7 now, along with the hot, medium, and mild. I have Chipotle, which is phenomenal. I have
Nice.
I have a pineapple, sweet pineapple that's absolutely to die for. I have a zesty onion artichoke. The medium salsa is primarily the base, and then everything's kind of added to there.
Okay.
So that was really the first one that I came up with and said, wow, this is really good, but it's not hot enough.
Got it. And have you pulled any like new Coke shenanigans where you retooled the formula, or has it always been pretty much the same?
No, it's always been the same. It works. why fix it if it's not broken?
I love it.
And if I want a different flavor, I just create one.
Yeah, I love that, because when you change a formula, you're essentially blocking off all of your consumers that have been a part of that product. Which, I use the Coke analogy, which they understood in the 80s how well that worked for them.
Yeah,
and I think it lasted. I'm gonna get the number wrong. It was less than 90 days that formula lasted before they were like, all right, we've
and that was before the internet.
Yes.
And they got hammered.
Yeah. Oh man, could you imagine? It'd be like 4 minutes probably now.
Right.
So excellent. So obviously when we're recording this, we're a few days before Christmas right now. So New Year's coming up. What's one or two things that you're looking forward to for the new year? What's some inside baseball that you can tell our audience that you guys are rolling out that you're looking forward to?
So tortilla chips are, they were in the back of my mind last year. Now they're in the front. I think I'll sell more salsa if I have a branded chip to go with it. So we're going to look at that pretty hard, 2023. I have a couple different flavors that I'm going to come out with. Not going to disclose those yet, but by the end of the year, I'll have 2 more salsa flavors out.
Awesome. So, last question before we wrap up. Now, I know mainly what you do is the distribution side of things and grocery stores and whatnot. But if someone wants to inquire about your products, services, what's the best way for them to do that?
You can go to the website, littleDiabloSalsa.com. You can email me, Doug@littleDiabloSalsa.com. We have a general mailbox. It's littleDiabloSalsa@yahoo.com. That one will probably get answered quicker than mine. But if there's any specific questions or anybody that's, just starting out in business and wants some advice, I'd be happy to talk to you. But those are the 3 main ways to get a hold of us.
I love it. Doug, anything else before we wrap up today?
No, I appreciate you having me on, and hope everybody enjoys their Christmas, and hope 2023 is prosperous for everybody.
You know what makes Christmas better?
What?
Little Diablo Salsa. That's what you should have said.
I should have known that.
I need to teach you some PR stuff, Doug. We'll work on it. We'll work on it. I appreciate you stopping by.
All right. Thank you.
All right, everyone. That's going to wrap up this week's edition of the Chamber Podcast. I appreciate you watching, listening, wherever you do it at. Hope you guys have a great Christmas. I don't know when this is coming out, but I hope you had or have a great Christmas and a good New Year. We'll catch you on next week's episode. Take care.